I, 52, F, always believed that a parent's love was unconditional. I thought it was a bond that could withstand anything, a foundation of trust that could never be truly broken. I learned, in the space of a single afternoon, that a foundation can crumble into dust. It started with a simple task, paying the quarterly property tax bill. It ended with the complete and utter devastation of my financial security, orchestrated by my own son, Leo, 26, M. He had funneled my entire life savings, every penny I had carefully put away for my retirement, into something he called an NFT drop. It was a term I barely understood, a world of digital pictures and fake money that seemed like a fantasy. But the loss was real. The hole in my savings account was a gaping wound, and the betrayal felt even worse. My relationship with Leo had been strained for a while. Ever since he dropped out of college, convinced he was the next tech billionaire, our conversations had become lectures. He would talk down to me about my boomer mindset and my obsolete understanding of the world. He lived in my house, ate my food, and used my internet, all while telling me that my steady job as a library administrator was a waste of a life. He spent his days in his room, surrounded by the glow of multiple computer monitors, speaking in a language I did not understand. He talked of apes and punks and the metaverse to me. It sounded like a child's game, but he spoke of it with the gravity of a world leader discussing international policy. His father, my ex-husband Mark, encouraged this. Mark had always seen Leo as a reflection of his own unfulfilled ambitions. "You have to support his vision, Helen," Mark would say over the phone. "The kid is a genius. He sees the future. I did not see a genius. I saw a boy who refused to grow up, who treated my home like a hotel and my bank account like an open tab." A few weeks before I discovered the theft, he had approached me in the kitchen. He was vibrating with an energy that was both exciting and unnerving. "Mom, I need a loan," he said, not as a request, but as a declaration. "I need $50,000. I almost dropped the plate I was washing."
$50,000?
"Leo, what on earth for?" I asked him. He launched into a rapid-fire speech about smart contracts and minting costs and a community he was building. "This is it," he said, his eyes wide. "This is the project that sets us up for life. We will be rich, Mom. Generational wealth." I took a deep breath. I had to be the parent here, the voice of reason. "Leo, I do not have that kind of money to just give you," I told him gently. "My savings are for my retirement. I am 52 years old. I cannot afford to gamble it away on a cartoon picture." His face hardened instantly. The excitement vanished, replaced by a familiar look of disdain. "You just do not get it," he said, his voice dripping with condescension. "You are scared of the future. You would rather work until you are 70 and have nothing to show for it than take one single risk. It is pathetic." He turned and stalked back to his room, slamming the door behind him. The conversation left me feeling cold. It was not just that he wanted my money. It was the contempt he had for my life, the life I had built to support him. I thought that was the end of it. I thought my no was clear enough. I was wrong. My no was just an obstacle he had already planned to get around. The lock on my savings account was not a person. It was just a password, and he had been watching me type it in for years. The day I found out began like any other Tuesday. I came home from work, made a cup of tea, and sat down at the old desktop computer in the study to handle some bills. The property tax was due, an expense I always dreaded but planned for meticulously. I opened my web browser and navigated to my bank's website. I enter my username and password, the same familiar clicks of the keyboard I had performed thousands of times. The page loaded, showing my checking account balance. It was normal. Then I clicked on the tab for my savings account, the account I called my Freedom Fund. I had been contributing to it since I was 25 years old. It was not a huge amount by some standards, but it was everything to me. It was my promise to myself that I would be okay, that I would not be a burden on anyone in my old age. The page loaded. I stared at the number. $112.42. For a moment, I did not understand. I blinked, thinking the screen was displaying incorrectly. I refreshed the page. The number remained the same. $112.42. A wave of nausea washed over me. It could not be right. Just last week, there had been over $85,000 in that account. I clicked on the transaction history, my hand trembling so badly I could barely control the mouse. My heart pounded against my ribs, a frantic, panic drumbeat. There they were. A series of transfers, all made over the last 2 weeks. $10,000 here. $15,000 there. Another 10. The final one for $5,000 had been made just 2 days ago. Each transfer was sent to the same recipient, an entity listed only as a long string of random letters and numbers. It looked like nonsense. It looked like a mistake. But $85,000 do not just vanish by mistake. My first thought was fraud. I had been hacked. Some anonymous criminal from across the world had found a way into my account and bled it dry. I grabbed the phone, my fingers fumbling as I dialed the bank's fraud department number from the back of my debit card. The automated voice on the other end was maddeningly calm as it guided me through a menu of options. I mashed the 0 key until a human finally answered. "Fraud department, this is Brenda speaking," she said. I could barely get the words out. "My money," I stammered. "My savings account. It is all gone." I explained the situation, my voice cracking with a mixture of fear and rage. Brenda was patient. She asked for my account number and my security information. I heard the clacking of her keyboard as she looked at my file. There was a long pause. "Ma'am," she said, her tone shifting slightly. "I am looking at the transfers now. I am afraid these do not appear to be fraudulent." "What do you mean?" I asked, my blood running cold. "How can they not be fraudulent?" "I did not make them, according to our records," she continued. "All of these transfers were initiated from your registered home IP address. They were also confirmed using your password and the two-factor authentication code sent to your registered cell phone." My phone. I looked at my cell phone sitting on the desk beside me. Leo had borrowed it last week. He said his was not charging properly, and he needed to make an important call. He had it for almost an hour. The pieces began to click into place, forming a picture so ugly and monstrous, I could not bear to look at it. The home computer. My password, which he must have seen me enter 100 times. My phone, which he had used to approve the transfers he was making from his own room down the hall. It was not a stranger. It was not some anonymous hacker. It was my son. My own son had looked me in the eye, day after day, while he systematically dismantled my future. The phone slipped from my hand and clattered onto the desk. Brenda's voice was a distant buzz.
"Mom?
"Are you still there?" I could not answer. I was choking on the silence, on the immense, suffocating weight of his betrayal. The foundation of my world had not just cracked. It had been intentionally demolished. I sat there in the quiet study for what felt like hours, just staring at the screen. The number, $112.42, seemed to mock me. It was an insult. It was the pocket change he had left behind after taking everything that mattered. A cold, hard knot of something that was not quite anger and not quite grief formed in the pit of my stomach. It was resolve. I did not know what I was going to do, but I knew I could not let this stand. I could not let him destroy me and simply walk away, whistling his tune about the future he had bought with my past. I pushed my chair back from the desk, stood up on shaky legs, and walked toward his room. The door was closed. I could hear the faint sound of him talking, his voice animated and excited. He was on a call, probably with his community of crypto believers. I stood outside the door, my hand raised to knock, but I paused. What would I even say? How do you confront the person you love most in the world and ask them why they did the most hateful thing imaginable? I lowered my hand. A direct confrontation right now would only lead to a screaming match. He would deny it. He would lie. He would twist it around and somehow make it my fault. I had seen him do it 100 times before in smaller arguments. He was a master of deflection and gaslighting. No, I needed to be smarter than that. I needed to be calm. I needed proof, even though my heart already knew the absolute truth. I turned and walked back to the study. I picked up my phone and saw a series of text messages from my ex-husband, Mark. They were all links to articles about cryptocurrency with his own comments like, "See? This is what Leo is talking about. And the future is now Helen."
Mark.
Of course. He was part of this. Maybe not in the planning, but in the enabling. He had been feeding Leo's delusions for years, telling him he was a misunderstood genius, encouraging his recklessness. I decided my next call would be to him. But first, I needed to face Leo, not with an accusation, but with a question. I took a few deep breaths, trying to steady my racing heart. I walked to the kitchen and poured a glass of water, my hand still shaking. I had to appear normal. I had to act as if it were just another Tuesday evening. I waited until I heard his bedroom door open. He came into the kitchen, heading for the refrigerator, his headphones still around his neck. He glanced at me but did not speak, his eyes already glued to the screen of his phone. "Leo," I said, my voice surprisingly even. He grunted in response, not looking up. "I was just online paying some bills," I began, keeping my tone casual. "And I noticed some really strange activity in my savings account. It looks like almost all the money is gone." He finally looked up from his phone. His expression was one of mild, detached interest. There was no flicker of surprise, no hint of concern. It was the carefully blank face of a practiced liar. "Oh, wow," he said, his voice flat. "That is crazy. You probably got hacked or something." He went back to looking at his phone. That was it. That was his response to me telling him my life savings had vanished. "You probably got hacked." I felt a surge of white-hot anger, but I pushed it down. I had to stay on script. "I called the bank," I continued. "They said the transfers were made from our home computer, using my password." I watched his face closely. This time, there was a small, almost imperceptible tightening around his eyes. He was processing the information, calculating his next move.
"See?
"I told you," he said, shaking his head with mock sympathy. "You are not careful enough with your passwords, Mom. I have told you 1,000,000 times you need to use a password manager. These hackers are getting really sophisticated." He was good. I had to admit, he was very good. He was already building a narrative where he was the knowledgeable son, and I was the clueless, irresponsible mother who had brought this on herself. The condescension was so thick, I could feel it pressing down on me. I felt small. That was his goal, to make me feel small and stupid, so I would doubt myself. But I did not doubt myself. I knew. I decided to push a little harder. "The bank said the money was sent to something called a cryptocurrency wallet," I said, watching him. "Do you know anything about that?" He shrugged, a perfect pantomime of indifference. "Yeah, that is where people hold their crypto. The hacker probably moved it there, so it would be untraceable. You're probably never going to see that money again." "That really sucks." He opened the refrigerator and pulled out a carton of juice, taking a long drink directly from it. He was not just calm, he was bored. He was acting like I had just told him I had lost a $20 bill, not my entire future. The cold knot in my stomach tightened. This was not just a theft. This was a complete and utter lack of empathy. He did not care. He felt nothing for me. That knowledge hurt more than the empty bank account. I had lost my money, and I had lost my son. I just stood there, watching him, and he did not even seem to notice the silence. He finished his juice, put the carton back, and started to walk out of the kitchen. "Well, let me know if the bank figures anything out," he said over his shoulder. "I have got a community call to jump on," and then he was gone, back to his room, back to his fantasy world funded by my reality. After he left, I sank into a kitchen chair, the full weight of the situation crashing down on me. He had lied to my face without a moment's hesitation. He had already prepared a story. He felt no remorse. I knew then that appealing to his conscience would be a waste of time. He did not have one. My next call was to Mark. I needed to know how deep this went. I dialed his number, and he picked up on the second ring. "Helen, did you see that article I sent you? Bitcoin is about to break its all-time high," he said, his voice booming with enthusiasm. I cut him off. "Mark, we need to talk. All the money is gone from my savings account." There was a brief pause. "What do you mean, gone?" he asked. His voice was still cheerful, but there was a new edge to it. Someone transferred it all out, I said, my voice flat. The bank says it was done from my computer. It was sent to a crypto wallet. The pause on the other end of the line was longer this time. I could almost hear the gears turning in his head as he connected the dots. When he finally spoke, his voice was different. It was defensive. Okay, now let's not jump to conclusions, Helen, he said. Are you sure you did not just move it somewhere and forget? You know how you get with these things. I was stunned. He was blaming me. Mark, I am telling you that $85,000 has been stolen from me, and your first reaction is to suggest I am forgetful? I asked, my voice rising. No, of course not, he said quickly, backtracking. I just mean let's think about this rationally. Leo has been talking about wanting to get you invested. He says you are missing out on the biggest wealth creation opportunity in human history. Maybe he was just trying to help you. Help me? I repeated, my voice incredulous. He helped me by taking all of my money without my permission? That is not helping, Mark. That is called theft. Now, theft is a strong word, he said, his voice taking on a placating tone that I despised. Leo is a visionary. He operates on a different level than us. He probably saw an opportunity and acted on it for your benefit. He is going to make you a fortune. I could not believe what I was hearing. He was not just enabling him, he was an active co-conspirator in the delusion. He was constructing a reality where Leo was a financial hero instead of a common thief. So, you think it is okay for our son to drain my retirement account without saying a word to me? I demanded. I think you need to have a little faith, Helen, he said. This is not like buying stocks. This is a whole new paradigm. You have to trust the process. You have to trust Leo. He knows what he is doing. The conversation was making me sick. It was like talking to a brick wall that kept repeating cult-like mantras about the future of finance. I do not trust him, Mark, I said, my voice low and dangerous. Not anymore. And I do not trust you either. You have filled his head with this nonsense, and now he has thrown my life away for it. You are being dramatic, he scoffed. You will be thanking him in 6 months when your investment has gone up 10 times. Just try to be supportive for once in your life. He hung up. I was left holding a dead phone, listening to the dial tone. I was completely and utterly alone in this. My son had betrayed me, and my ex-husband was his biggest cheerleader. There was no one in my immediate family I could turn to. I felt a wave of despair wash over me. What could I possibly do? I was a middle-aged librarian. He was a tech-savvy kid who had hidden my money in a digital world I could not access or understand. He had all the power. But then I thought of someone. My niece, Chloe. She was my sister's daughter, a smart, funny 24-year-old who worked as a software engineer. She was always patient with me when I had computer problems, never making me feel stupid for not understanding the latest technology. She spoke the same language as Leo, but without the arrogance. She was my only hope. I found her number in my contacts and pressed the call button. She answered right away. Aunt Helen. What is up? Her cheerful voice said. It was the first kind voice I had heard all day. I took a shaky breath. Chloe, I need your help, I said. I am in a lot of trouble. I told her everything. I told her about the empty account, the transfers, the conversation with Leo, the infuriating call with Mark. I did not cry. My voice was steady, fueled by the cold resolve that had been building inside me all evening. Chloe listened patiently, not interrupting once. When I finished, there was a moment of silence. He did what? She finally said, her voice a low whisper of disbelief. Aunt Helen, that is unbelievable. I know it is, I said. And I do not know what to do. The money is in some kind of crypto wallet, and I do not even know what that means. I feel so helpless. You are not helpless, Chloe said, her voice suddenly firm and full of conviction. You are not. He thinks you are. He is counting on you not understanding. But he is wrong. I understand this world. I know how it works. And I am going to help you. A tiny spark of hope flickered to life inside me. You will? I asked. Of course I will, she said. He picked the wrong battlefield. He thinks he is hidden on the blockchain, but the thing about the blockchain is it is a public ledger. Everything is traceable. He cannot hide from us. I will be over in an hour. After I hung up with Chloe, I felt a shift inside me. The despair was still there, a heavy weight in my chest. But now it was mixed with something else. It was the beginning of a plan. It was the first step toward taking back control. Chloe arrived exactly an hour later, carrying a laptop and a determined look on her face. She gave me a long hug at the door. "We're going to figure this out," she whispered, and for the first time all day, I believed it might be true. We sat down at the kitchen table, and I pulled up my bank statement on my own laptop. Chloe looked at the long string of letters and numbers that identified the destination wallet. "Okay," she said, her fingers flying across her keyboard. "This is the wallet address he sent the money to. First, he would have had to send it to an exchange to convert your dollars into cryptocurrency." She navigated to a website that looked like a complex financial chart, full of flashing green and red numbers. Most big exchanges have to follow regulations. They have to know who their customers are. "Let's see if we can figure out which exchange he used." She started cross-referencing the transaction times with public data from different exchanges. It was like watching a detective work a case, piecing together digital clues that were invisible to me. "Okay, got it," she said after about 20 minutes. "The deposits line up perfectly with Coinbase. He used his own Coinbase account to convert the cash. That was his first mistake. It creates a direct link between his real-world identity and this money." She explained that from Coinbase, he had moved the cryptocurrency, which she identified as Ethereum, to a different, more anonymous wallet. "This is his personal wallet," she said, pointing to another long string of characters on her screen. "This is where he holds the funds. From here, he can do whatever he wants with it." She clicked a few more links, her brow furrowed in concentration. A new website popped up. It was called Etherscan. "This is a block explorer," she explained. "Think of it like a public search engine for the Ethereum blockchain. We can plug in his wallet address and see every single transaction he has ever made. It is all public. He cannot delete it. He cannot hide it." She copied and pasted his wallet address into the search bar and hit enter. A list of transactions appeared, a long, scrolling page of data. To me, it was gibberish. To Chloe, it was a story. "Okay, so here is the $85,000 worth of Ethereum coming in from Coinbase," she said, tracing a line on the screen with her finger. "And here,
Oh, wow.
here is where it is going out." She pointed to a series of large outgoing transactions. They were all directed to a single address. "This is a smart contract," she said. "He is sending the money to a program on the blockchain. Let's see what it is for." She clicked on the smart contract's address, and another page loaded. This one had a name at the top. It was a project called Crypto Kings. My heart skipped a beat. Chloe's eyes went wide. She quickly opened a new browser tab and typed something into a search engine. A moment later, she turned her laptop toward me. On the screen was a slick, flashy website. The centerpiece of the page was a cartoon drawing of a lion wearing a ridiculous gold crown and sunglasses. The project name was emblazoned in huge, gaudy letters. "Crypto Kings, the roar that changes the game." My breath caught in my throat. Leo's online username, for as long as I could remember, on every game and social media platform, had been Leo the Lion. It was him. It was his project. He had not invested my money. He had stolen it to fund his own cartoon lion get-rich-quick scheme. I felt a fresh wave of sickness and anger. This was not some sophisticated investment strategy as Mark had suggested. This was a vanity project. He had taken my life's work, the physical embodiment of my sweat and sacrifice, and turned it into a JPEG of a lion in a crown. Chloe was still digging. "There's a link to their Discord server here," she said, her voice tight with anger on my behalf. "Let's see what he has been saying to his community." She clicked the link, and an application that looked like a chat room opened up. It was filled with hundreds of messages. Chloe quickly found Leo's username, Leo the Lion, marked with a special tag that identified him as the project founder. She started scrolling through his messages, and we read them together. My stomach churned with every word. He was posturing, bragging, playing the role of a crypto visionary. Just put another 50 ETH in to fund the treasury, he had written in one message, referring to the Ethereum he had bought with my money. I am all in on this project, guys. I believe in it so much I am funding it myself. We are going to the moon. In another channel, a user asked him where he got the capital to start such a big project. I watched, horrified, as Leo's reply popped up in the chat history. All self-funded, bro, he wrote. Been grinding in the crypto space for years. Saved up every penny. You have to have conviction to make it in this game, conviction. Grinding. Saved up every penny. He was not just a thief, he was a fraud. He was building his entire reputation on a lie that was built on my back. He had crafted this persona of a self-made crypto genius, a leader his followers could trust, while secretly being nothing more than a common criminal who had robbed his own mother. The betrayal was so profound, so complete, it felt like it was going to swallow me whole. He had not just taken my money. He had erased my existence from his story. He had made my life's work his own, and he was proud of it. Chloe reached over and put her hand on my arm. "Aunt Helen," she said softly. "I am so sorry." I just shook my head, unable to speak. The hurt was too deep for words. That night, I did not sleep. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, the events of the day replaying in my mind on an endless loop. The empty bank account. Leo's blank, emotionless face. Mark's dismissive defense of him. The cartoon lion with its stupid crown. The lies Leo had typed with his own fingers, bragging about his grind, to a crowd of strangers. Every detail was a fresh stab of pain. The anger was a physical thing, a hot, burning coal in my chest. But underneath the anger was a deep, profound sadness. This was my son. The little boy I had held in my arms, the child whose scraped knees I had bandaged, the teenager I had supported through every awkward phase. Where had he gone? Who was this cold, calculating stranger living down the hall? I thought about calling the police. It was the logical thing to do. He had committed a crime. He should face the legal consequences. But I hesitated. The thought of my son being arrested, of his face being in a mugshot, of our family's private shame being dragged through the court system. It was a horrifying prospect. And what if it did not even work? Crypto was still a legal gray area. A protracted legal battle would cost more money I no longer had. And it might not even result in me getting my savings back. No, a legal battle was his father's way of solving things. All bluster and lawyers and scorched earth. It was not my way. I needed a different kind of justice. I needed something that would not just punish him, but something that would force him to confront the truth of what he had done. He had built a fantasy world for himself online, a world where he was a king, a self-made visionary. He cared more about the opinions of the anonymous strangers in his Discord server than he did about the mother who had given him everything. His reputation, in that world, was the most valuable thing he had. He had used my money to buy it. And that is when the idea began to form. It started as a small, vengeful spark in the darkness of my bedroom, but it quickly grew into a roaring fire. He had used his world, the digital world of the blockchain, to hurt me. I would use that same world to hold him accountable. He thought I was a technologically illiterate old woman who could be easily deceived and dismissed. He was about to find out how wrong he was. I was going to learn his language, enter his arena, and beat him at his own game. The goal was no longer just to get my money back. The goal was to tear down the fraudulent kingdom he had built on my ruins. I finally drifted off to sleep just before dawn, a clear and ruthless plan solidifying in my mind. The next morning, I felt a strange sense of calm. The decision had been made. The path was clear. I called Chloe before I left for work. "I have an idea," I said, my voice steady. "I do not want to go to the police. I want to fight him on his own turf." "What are you thinking?" she asked, her voice intrigued. "You told me the blockchain is a public ledger, right? That everything on it is permanent?" I asked. "That is right," she confirmed. "It is immutable. Once a transaction is on there, it is on there forever. And you told me about NFTs," I continued. "They are like digital tokens that are stored on the blockchain, and everyone can see them in your wallet?" "Exactly," she said. If you own an NFT, it shows up in your public collection, linked to your wallet address. A slow smile spread across my face. Chloe, I said, I want you to help me make an NFT. There was a pause on the other end of the line, and then I heard her let out a low whistle. Aunt Helen, she said, her voice full of admiration. That is absolutely diabolical. I love it. What do you have in mind? We met again that evening. This time, there was no sadness or despair. The kitchen table had become our war room. I laid out my vision. I do not want it to be complicated, I explained. It needs to be simple, direct, and impossible to misunderstand. I want the image to be a drawing of a piggy bank. A classic, pink piggy bank, but with a big crack down the side and coins spilling out. Chloe nodded, sketching the idea on a notepad. I like it. It is simple and iconic. What about text? She asked. I want text, I said. Above the piggy bank, in big, bold letters, I wanted to say, bad son. Chloe looked up from her notepad, a wide grin spreading across her face. Oh, that is perfect, she breathed. And underneath the piggy bank, I continued. In smaller letters, I want to list the exact amount of money he stole from me. To the penny. And maybe the date the last transfer was made. We can put all of that in the NFT's properties, Chloe explained, her excitement growing. It will be part of the metadata, permanently stored on the blockchain. Anyone who inspects the NFT will be able to see it. She started typing furiously on her laptop. So the NFT itself will be the image, and the title will be Bad Son, and in the description, we will lay out the facts. This token commemorates the theft of amount from a retirement savings account on date. The plan felt more real with every word she typed. It was elegant in its cruelty. It was a digital scarlet letter. Now, I said, how do we get it to him? That is the best part, Chloe said, her eyes gleaming. We do not have to ask him to accept it. We can airdrop it directly into his wallet. He will just wake up one day and find it sitting there in his public collection, alongside all of his precious crypto kings. He will not be able to refuse it. He cannot burn it or send it away easily without making another public transaction that everyone can see. He will be stuck with it. The thought of his face when he saw it was almost enough to make me laugh. This was better than any courtroom. A judge could send him to jail, but this would shatter his ego. It would destroy the one thing he truly valued, his online reputation as a self-made crypto guru. When is he launching this project of his? I asked. Chloe pulled up the Crypto Kings website again. A large countdown timer was displayed prominently on the homepage. The public mint is in 3 days, she said. That is when everyone will be watching his wallet. They will be looking at the project's transactions. It is the perfect time to strike. It will cause maximum chaos. The next 3 days were a strange mixture of tension and anticipation. I went about my daily routine, going to work, making dinner, tidying the house. On the surface, everything was normal. I was polite but distant with Leo. He seemed to have completely forgotten our conversation in the kitchen. He was entirely consumed by his upcoming launch, spending every waking moment in his room, barking orders at his project moderators on Discord. He treated me like a piece of furniture, an invisible servant who kept the house running while he prepared for his coronation as a crypto king. He had no idea that a quiet rebellion was being plotted just a few feet away, at his own kitchen table. Each evening, I would meet with Chloe, and we would refine our weapon. She found a simple, free drawing program, and I, with my surprisingly steady hand, drew the cracked piggy bank myself. It felt cathartic, channeling all my anger and hurt into that simple image. Chloe then helped me mint it. She walked me through the process, explaining how we were creating a unique token on the Ethereum blockchain. She set up a new, anonymous wallet for me, funded with a small amount of Ethereum she bought for me, just enough to cover the gas fees, the transaction costs of using the network. She showed me how to use a service to schedule the airdrop, timing it to go out exactly 1 hour after his project's launch. The night before the launch, I felt a tremor of doubt. Was this the right thing to do? It felt so aggressive, so permanent. I was about to publicly humiliate my own son. But then I thought of the $85,000. I thought of my future, now uncertain and terrifying. I thought of the casual way he had lied to me, the contempt in his eyes. He had left me no other choice. He had refused to see me, to hear me, to acknowledge my humanity. He only respected the language of his new world, the world of digital status and public wallets. So I would speak to him in the only language he understood. I would send him a message that he, and everyone he was trying to impress, would be unable to ignore. My resolve hardened once more. The plan was in motion. There was no turning back. The day of the launch, the atmosphere in the house was electric. Leo was a storm of nervous energy, pacing back and forth between his room and the kitchen, grabbing snacks he did not eat, his eyes glued to his phone. He was wearing a brand new hoodie with the Crypto King's lion logo emblazoned on the chest. He looked ridiculous. He ignored me completely, lost in his world of floor prices and minting schedules. I just sipped my tea and watched him, a silent observer at the spectacle of his impending self-destruction. I felt strangely calm, like the eye of a hurricane. The chaos was all around me, but I was perfectly still. Chloe was texting me updates. Launch is in 1 hour. Community is hyped 30 minutes. He is doing a live AMA, Ask Me Anything, on Twitter Spaces. He sounds so arrogant, 5 minutes. The countdown is on the website. I went into the study and sat at the computer, my heart starting to beat a little faster now. I opened the Crypto King's website. The countdown clock ticked down the final seconds. 10, 9, 8. When it hit 0, the Mint Now button appeared. Chloe texted me a moment later. It is live. People are minting. He is posting the sales numbers in the Discord. He is ecstatic. I waited. According to our plan, the airdrop was scheduled for 1 hour after the launch began. It was the longest hour of my life. I could hear Leo in his room, shouting with excitement.
Yes, we are selling out.
Let's go, he yelled. He was on top of the world. He was a king. I just sat and waited, watching the clock on my computer screen. The minutes crawled by. 55 minutes. 58. 60. Chloe sent a single text message. It is done. The bad son NFT has been delivered to his wallet. I took a deep breath. The trap had been sprung. Now we just had to wait for the animal to notice it was caught. It did not take long. Less than 5 minutes later, a sound erupted from Leo's room. It was not a shout of joy. It was a roar of pure, unadulterated rage and confusion. What the hell is this? The sound was so violent it made me jump. His bedroom door flew open with a crash, and he stormed into the hallway. He was pale, his face a mask of disbelief. He charged into the study where I was sitting, brandishing his phone like a weapon. Look at this, he screamed, shoving the phone in my face. His hands were shaking. I look at the screen, and there it is. My creation. The simple pink piggy bank with the ugly crack down its side. The title above it is clear and sharp. Bad Son. It is sitting in his public wallet on a site called OpenSea, nestled right between 2 of his gaudy Crypto King's lions. It looks so out of place, so simple, and so damning. His world of digital fantasy has been invaded by a cold, hard piece of reality. I look up from the phone and meet his eyes. They are wild, searching for an explanation, for anyone to blame but himself. This is the moment. The confrontation I have been waiting for. My heart is pounding, but my voice, when it comes out, is ice. I know what it is, I say. He freezes. His mouth hangs open slightly. He is processing my words, but they do not compute. The idea that I, his technologically inept mother, could have anything to do with this is so alien to him that his brain cannot accept it. What are you talking about? He stammers. Who did this? Was it one of my rivals? Did another project do this to sabotage my launch? He is so wrapped up in his own ego that he immediately assumes this must be the work of a jealous competitor. He cannot conceive of a world where his actions have personal consequences. I am now standing. I feel a surge of power, a feeling I have not had in a very long time. The fear is gone. It was not a rival project, Leo. I say, my voice clear and steady. I did it. The color drains completely from his face. He stares at me, his expression a mixture of utter shock and dawning horror. It is as if I have just confessed to being an alien from another planet. You, he whispers, the word barely audible. You do not even know how to clear the cache on your browser. How could you do this? I had help, I say. But the idea was all mine. You took my savings, Leo. You took my entire future to fund your little game. You thought I was too old and too stupid to understand your world. You thought you could hide my money on the blockchain. But you taught me something important. The blockchain is a public record. The truth is public now. 2. His phone starts buzzing relentlessly in his hand. He glances down at it. His eyes widen in panic. The Discord, he mutters. Everyone is seeing it. Everyone is asking about it. He starts frantically tapping on his screen. I can see the messages flooding his chat room. Yo, Leo, what is that bad son NFT in your wallet? LOL, what did you do? Is this part of the project? Some kind of joke. Dude, look at the description. It says it is for a stolen retirement account. Is this real? His carefully constructed image, his persona as the self-made crypto king, is shattering in real time, in front of all of his followers. He looks up at me, his eyes pleading for the first time in years. You have to undo this, he says, his voice a desperate rasp. Take it back. Tell them it is a joke. You are ruining me. I am ruining you? I ask, and now the anger I have been suppressing for days finally breaks through. I take a step toward him. You left me with $112, Leo. You left me with nothing. You looked me in the eye, and you lied to me. You felt no guilt, no remorse. You were just annoyed that I was bothering you. You do not get to talk to me about being ruined. Just then, my phone rings. I look at the caller ID. It is Mark. Of course. Leo must have called him in a panic. I answer it and put it on speakerphone, setting it down on the desk. Helen, what the hell did you do? Mark's voice bellows from the small speaker, distorted with rage. You have to take that thing down right now. You are sabotaging your own son's future. Hello, Mark. I say calmly. Leo is here with me. It seems his big launch has hit a small snag. A snag, he roars. His investors are pulling out. People are calling him a scammer. You have destroyed everything he has worked for. What he worked for was my money, Mark. I reply, my voice as cold as steel. The money I worked for 30 years. You told me to have faith in him. You told me to be supportive. Well, this is my way of being supportive. I am supporting the truth. I am teaching our son that actions have consequences, a lesson you have failed to teach him his entire life. There is a sputtering sound on the other end of the line. Mark is speechless. He has no response. His entire worldview, where Leo is a blameless genius, has been publicly invalidated. Leo is just staring at me, his face ashen. The bravado is gone. The arrogance is gone. He looks like a lost little boy. But I feel no pity. Pity is a luxury I can no longer afford. You both thought I was weak, I say, looking from my son's broken expression to the phone on the desk. You thought I was someone you could just roll over and forget about. You have made a terrible mistake. I end the call with Mark. The silence in the room is deafening, broken only by the incessant buzzing of Leo's phone, a digital chorus of his downfall. He finally sinks into the chair behind him, puts his head in his hands, and for the first time since he was a small child, he begins to sob. The fallout was immediate and catastrophic, at least for Leo. The story of the bad son, NFTs spread like wildfire through the small, insular world of crypto enthusiasts on Twitter and Discord. My simple, crudely drawn piggy bank became a meme. People started calling the crypto kings project a rug pull, a term I learned meant to scam where the developers run off with the investors' money. Except in this case, the developer had been exposed for stealing the seed money from his own mother. The floor price of his cartoon lions, which had briefly soared in the first hour of the launch, plummeted to zero. People who had just spent hundreds or thousands of dollars on his NFTs were left holding worthless digital images. They were furious. His Discord server, once a place of hype and adulation, turned into a cesspool of accusations and rage. He was a pariah. He had achieved his dream of becoming famous in the crypto world, just not in the way he had intended. He stayed locked in his room for 3 days. I left food outside his door, but I did not try to talk to him. There was nothing left to say. The bad son, NFT, had said it all. On the 4th day, he emerged. He looked terrible. He had not shaved, and his eyes were red and swollen. He found me in the kitchen. He did not look at me. He just stared at the floor. "They want their money back," he said, his voice a hollow shell. "The people who minted. They are threatening to sue me. Do you have their money?" I asked, my voice neutral. He shook his head.
No.
Most of it went to the project costs. The artists, the developers, the marketing. And the rest. The rest I lost. When the price of Ethereum started to dip, I tried to trade it to make it back, but I lost more. He finally looked up at me, and his eyes were empty. "It is all gone," he whispered. "Your money. Their money. All of it." I felt a pang of something, a ghost of maternal instinct, but I suppressed it. This was the consequence he had earned. "So, what are you going to do?" I asked. "I do not know," he said, his shoulders slumping in defeat. "I have nothing." That evening, I had a long video call with my sister, Sarah. I had told her the whole story, and she was, to put it mildly, horrified. "I cannot believe he would do that," she said, shaking her head. "And Mark, defending him? What is wrong with those two?" "I think they live in a fantasy world, Sarah," I said. "A world with no consequences." "I just brought a little bit of reality crashing into it, a little bit," she said with a wry smile. "Helen, what you did was legendary." Chloe told me the whole plan. "It was brilliant. I am so proud of you for standing up for yourself." Her support was a balm on my wounded spirit. It felt good to have someone in my corner, someone who saw things clearly. "I just do not know what to do now," I confessed. "He is broken. And I still do not have my money back." "You give him an ultimatum," Sarah said, her voice firm. "No more games. No more chances. You lay down the law. He either accepts your terms, or you go to the police. He has no leverage here. You have all the power." She was right. The time for quiet anger and clever revenge was over. Now, it was time for cold, hard terms. The next day, I sat Leo down at the kitchen table. It was the same table where Chloe and I had plotted his downfall. The irony was not lost on me. I laid out a single piece of paper in front of him. "These are my terms," I said. He looked at the paper. It had 3 points written in my neatest handwriting. 1. You will get a job.
Any job.
I do not care if it is flipping burgers or stocking shelves. You will start earning money, and you will give me 70% of every paycheck until you have paid back the $85,000 you stole from me. 2. You will start therapy. You will find a licensed therapist, and you will attend sessions every week to address your issues with lying, entitlement, and gambling. You will provide me with proof of your attendance. 3. You will sell anything of value you have left. Your computers, your fancy chair, your collection of sneakers. All of it. The money will go directly to me." He read the list, his face grim. "And if I do not agree?" he asked, his voice barely a whisper. "If you do not agree," I said, meeting his gaze without flinching, "I will walk down to the police station this afternoon and file a full report for theft and wire fraud. I have the bank records. I have Chloe as a witness. I have your own messages from Discord where you brag about funding the project yourself. They will press charges, Leo. You will have a criminal record. Is that what you want?" He stared at the paper for a long time. I could see the internal struggle, the last vestiges of his pride warring with the harsh reality of his situation. Finally, he picked up the pen I had placed on the table and signed his name at the bottom. My final confrontation was with Mark. He called me, his tone much more subdued this time. "Helen, I think you have made your point," he said. "Maybe you went a little too far, but I understand why you were angry. Now it is time to help our son get back on his feet. Help him." I repeated. "Mark, your version of helping is what got us into this mess. Your help is poison. You are not to give him a single dollar. You are not to tell him this is all just a big misunderstanding. You are not to encourage any more of his get-rich-quick schemes. In fact, for the foreseeable future, I think it is best if you stay out of his life and mine. You cannot be serious, he said, his voice rising in disbelief. I am his father. A father would have taught him right from wrong. I shot back. A father would not have cheered him on while he robbed his mother. You are an enabler, Mark. And I am done enabling you. Goodbye. I hung up and blocked his number. It was a difficult decision, but a necessary one. The toxic influence had to be cut out completely from both our lives. It has been 6 months now. Leo is a different person. He works a full-time job at a warehouse packing boxes. It is grueling, monotonous work. He comes home exhausted every day. He is quiet. The arrogant, condescending boy is gone, replaced by a sullen, withdrawn man. He gives me his paycheck every Friday, and I transfer my 30% back to his account for his basic expenses. He is in therapy. He sold all his expensive electronics. The multiple monitors are gone, replaced by a single, cheap laptop he uses for his therapy sessions. He lives in the basement. Our house is quiet and tense. We barely speak. The love I once had for him has been replaced by a complicated mix of pity, resentment, and a flicker of hope that maybe, just maybe, this harsh lesson will save him from himself in the long run. Sometimes, late at night, I see the glow of his phone from the basement window. I know what he is looking at. He is looking at his crypto wallet. The crypto kings are worthless, a digital graveyard of his ambition. But the other NFT, the Bad Son token, is still there. It will always be there, a permanent, public monument to his greatest failure. He cannot sell it. He cannot delete it. He can only look at it and remember. He learned that some things, once broken, can never be fully repaired. And I learned that a mother's love may be unconditional, but her tolerance for betrayal has a very clear and very permanent limit. I stopped giving warnings. He finally learned what it feels like to have your security taken from you. He finally learned what it feels like to be small.